Hey, I would like to spend a few minutes today talking to you about communication. This is a subject we're all familiar with, but there's a lot of twists and turns to it, a lot of things we could do to make it better. There's so much more to communicating than just talking and listening. The thoughts I want to share with you today could be beneficial in all areas of your life, regardless of the circumstance, but we really want to, for obvious reasons, target the family and dealing with our kids because that's kind of what we're focusing on at this season. The idea of communication is often and always talking and listening, but there's so much more to it than that. What happens between the sender, the person talking, sending the message or thoughts to the receiver? What actually happens right there is the way they receive that, that's the message. And sometimes that gets distorted from sending to receiving. We find that a lot in situations at school with our kids. Four kind of communication styles that I want to talk about. First is verbal. Verbal is the use of language to transfer information in speaking or sign language. Is the most common thing we hear about. But with verbal communication, so much still, like I mentioned, can get lost in what you're trying to say and the way someone is receiving that. So it's very important to focus on that. Nonverbal is the use of body language, gestures, facial expressions to convey a message to others. Sometimes it's intentional, sometimes not. Even silence is sending a message of how you feel about something by not responding. Visual communication comes along with photography, advertising. We are getting so much visual communication in our world today. Our kids are getting so much visual communication. Written. This one is kind of something we think about a lot at school because we think about emails and text. A lot of people have in their mind, they start thinking about text if you use all caps, like you were talking loud, or if you used exclamation points, were you being angry? We don't know what the tone of a text might be. So that's something to think about. Every interaction that you have is a form of communication. It's not just about what you say, it's the tone of your voice, the way you look, your body language, the attention you're given to it. And it's important to keep in mind that we also have very different personalities. Our kids, even from the youngest kids, babies, they have personalities. And the way we communicate sometimes gets distorted because of the difference in personalities. Some of the reasons for some of the breakdowns in communication are the lack of active listening. We act like we're listening, but we're really not in the moment. We're sometimes thinking about how we want to respond rather than actually listening to what's being said. Criticism and negativity can be harmful. Different communication styles, disagreements and conflict. We're busy. Busy and stressful lives keep us going. We get in the habits of being on our phones and scrolling, and we're not engaged. Technology and social media, the tone. We would rather oftentimes talk on text or communicate on text than actually talk to people. And that gets a little scary when you get involved in just doing that rather than wanting to be engaged. All of these things can lead to hurt feelings, misunderstandings, conflict, low self esteem, emotional distress. The root of a lot of family conflict is just simply poor communication. Easily can be fixed. Some things to think about to fix it. Active listening. Pay attention. Give it a few minutes. Ask clarifying questions. Nod your head. Give nonverbal cues that I'm listening. Be intentional with your time, even if it's just checking in. Rather than say, I've only got 5 minutes, say, I've got 5 minutes Tell me about something that's going on with you. Open communication. Encourage everybody to share their thoughts. They may not be like yours. You don't have to agree, but it opens the floor for good conversation, that it's okay to be different with some things. Have respectful conversation. Avoid interrupting or putting others down for what they think. Use I statements in expressing personal feelings and not blaming others. Just simply acknowledge, appreciate. Let's look for solutions instead of assigning blame and not always go back to the past. Be mindful of what your body language is saying. What's your tone? What are your facial expressions? Is it worth to put the time and energy into making our lives with communication within the family better? You bet it is. It can and will lead to stronger relationships, improved emotional health, better problem solving, just overall a more supportive environment. Our goal at ACA is to contribute and provide tools for students. We want to put tools in their toolbox to know and recognize the importance of communication skills with each other, with their teachers, with their families. We all tend to do better when we know better.